We'll probably want to let that. Actually, we'll probably want to let that run for a good, 5 minutes at least. After 40 days of government shutdown, 40 days of standing firm on protecting healthcare, after 40 days of Republicans taking heat for this shutdown, eight Senate Democrats decided to give it all away for literally nothing. My name is producer Steve, and this is the Weekly Dump. Okay, sure. All right. Before we begin, I'm sure some of you are wondering, what the hell? Where's Jovan? Well, truth is, we didn't have a show planned this week, and we were just going to release the three Dark Enlightenment videos as one video, give ourselves a little break. However, since 8 traitors in the Senate decided to jump ship late last night, I decided to put together a quick breakdown of what happened and go live for you guys this Monday afternoon. Late last night, 8 Senate Democrats broke ranks with their leadership and voted to reopen the government, and they got absolutely nothing in return. Let me be more specific. They traded away healthcare subsidies that keep insurance affordable for 24 million Americans for a promise, and not even a good promise, right? A promise of a vote that will almost certainly fail. A vote that House Speaker Mike Johnson has already said he won't even hold. Take a look.
For that to He's offered them a vote. You know what they told him in response? No, we need you to guarantee the outcome of that vote. Well, that's ridiculous. That can't be done.
Councilman from the Senate, will you assure the House members that they'll get a vote, House Democrats, they'll get a vote on ACA subsidies by date certain?
No, because we did our job, and I'm not part of the negotiation. The House did its job on September 19th. I'm not promising anybody anything. I'm going to let this process play out. I tell you what they wanted. I'll tell you what Schumer and Jeffries wanted. In fact, Chuck Schumer said it publicly and decried that Thune and I would not go in a back room with them and make a four corners agreement on Obamacare subsidies. And I said, there's no way. That was never possible or appropriate.
All right, well, this is going to be the Democratic Party in a nutshell, folks. Right there. So this is the Democratic Party in a nutshell. Lucy with the football, Charlie Brown doing backflops every single time. But let's back up and really understand what is on the line here. So those ACA subsidies were part of the American Rescue Plan that was passed in 2021 during COVID. They were temporary, but they worked. Enrollment in the ACA marketplace plans more than doubled from 11.4 million in 2020 to 24.3 million in 2025. And guess what else? Premium stabilized, right? So Democrats have been trying to make these subsidies permanent, at least extending them long term. Republicans have resisted because they want to eliminate the ACA entirely. All right. Trump's been ranting about how the subsidies are a windfall for healthcare insurance companies, demanding the money be sent directly to individuals instead. Now, Trump has a point that insurance companies are making out like bandits under this current system. We, as leftists, understand and have long understood that the ACA is just a repackaged right-wing Heritage Foundation plan. But we also know Trump's solution isn't actually going to fix it, right? He's full of shit. So he's not going to replace this with universal health care. He just wants to blow this up and replace it with, I don't know, nothing, right? Vouchers, maybe, individual market chaos, horse dewormer, bleach injections, who the fuck knows, okay? 10 years to come up with an alternative, and we're still in the concepts of a plan stage. All right, so without a plan, when these subsidies expire, this is what happens. Okay, so average out of pocket premiums jumped 75%, from about $888 a year to $1,593. That's close to double of an increase. Okay, Congressional Budget Office estimates 4.2 million people will lose their health care entirely by 2034 if these subsidies expire. So, in total, we're talking about 24 million Americans enrolled in ACA marketplace plans, with 92% of them receiving these subsidies. This isn't some niche issue affecting a few people. This is massive. So, when the government shut down on October 1st, Democrats said, "Well, we're not reopening the government unless we extend these subsidies. We're not going to let millions of Americans see their healthcare costs skyrocket while we're negotiating." That was the line in the sand. Okay. That was the hill they chose to die on. And most of us were cheering them on. But they didn't die on that hill. They didn't even make it to the base of that hill. They saw that hill, right, from a distance, got tired of looking at it and said, yeah, I guess we'll go home. All right. Chuck Schumer, the minority leader, proposed a compromise on Friday, pass a 1-year extension of the ACA subsidies and reopen the government at current spending levels. I mean, look, we compromise, okay? Don't get me wrong. This is Chuck Schumer we are talking about here, okay? And of course, Republicans said no repeatedly, emphatically. Lindsey Graham called it political terrorism. John Kennedy just called it stupid. But last night, on Sunday, Senators Catherine Cortez Masto, Jacky Rosen, both of Nevada, Angus King of Maine, John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, Tim Kaine of Virginia, Dick Durbin of Illinois, and Maggie Hassan and Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire sold us out. And few, if any, will see any immediate consequences for this vote. 2 of them have already announced their retirement, and none of them face re-election next year. Here's what they agreed to. They voted to reopen the government through January 30th. They got a promise, not a guarantee, a promise that the Senate would vote on extending the ACA subsidies by the second week of December. That's it. That's the whole deal. A vote that will almost certainly fail. A vote that, even if it passes the Senate, Mike Johnson has already said he won't bring it to the House floor. We watched the video together, all right? These 8 traders undoubtedly have seen it as well. This is what's known in the negotiating business as getting absolutely fucking steamrolled. Okay. And the establishment Democrats have always had these excuses for why they suck so damn hard, right? This is what a few of them had to say. All right. So we got Angus King. He said Democrats changed course on ACA because, quote, it wasn't working and it was clear Republicans wouldn't budge. All right. Tim Kaine said, and I quote, this deal guarantees a vote to extend the ACA premium tax credit, which Republicans weren't willing to do. Lawmakers know their constituents expect them to vote for it, and if they don't, they could very well be replaced at the ballot box by someone who will. Listen, Tim Kaine's such a moron, dude, right? He thinks Republicans will vote for these subsidies because they're afraid of losing election. Tim, buddy, have you met MAGA? Right? They'd sell their daughters into biblical slavery if Trump told them to, okay? They're not scared of shit, all right? Maggie Hassan said that she's been hearing from residents affected by the shutdown and by looming healthcare cost spikes, and this was the best path forward. Yeah, Maggie, between the average monthly SNAP benefit of $177 and the average ACA benefit of $550 a person per month, sure, queen. Let's go with the lesser amount. Whatever. Anyway, the shutdown was temporary, okay? But these premium increases will be permanent. Honestly, I don't buy this bullshit for a minute, right? If we follow the economic interests, it points us directly to the airline industry, right? That's who this is really about. Look at the senators that are involved, right? And the Nevada senators, Masto and Rosen, represent Las Vegas's tourism economy, which is already struggling due to Trump pissing off the rest of the world, okay? No one wants to vacation here anymore. You got Virginia Senator Tim Kaine, represents hundreds of thousands of federal workers dependent on smooth airline operations. So when airlines get called, or I'm sorry, so when the airlines called, these guys moved. All right. American Airlines, Delta, Southwest, United Airlines have all been publicly whining on Fox Business for an end to the shutdown. Since airlines don't really give a shit whether or not people have health care, it was just easier for them to flip 8 of their purchased Democratic senators rather than pressure Republicans into doing the right thing and disobeying their dear leader. Now, not everyone in the Democratic Party is thrilled with the surrender. Bernie Sanders had some choice words for these 8 Democrats. Here, take a look.
Tonight, 8 Democrats voted with the Republicans to allow them to go forward on this
You're
continuing
good, man. You're doing good.
resolution. And to my mind, this was a very, very bad vote. What it does, first of all, is it raises healthcare premiums for over 20 million Americans by doubling, and in some cases tripling or quadrupling. People can't afford that when we are already paying the highest prices in the world for healthcare. Number 2, it paves the way for 15 million people to be thrown off of Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. Studies show that will mean that some 50,000 Americans will die every year unnecessarily. And all of that was done to give $1 trillion in tax breaks to the 1%. As everybody knows, just on Tuesday, we had an election all over this country. And what the election showed is that the American people want us to stand up to Trumpism, to his war against working class people, to his authoritarianism. That is what the American people wanted, but tonight, that is not what happened. So we've got to go forward, do the best that we can to try to protect working class people, to make sure that the United States not only does not throw people off of health care, but ends the absurdity of being the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people. We got a lot of work to do. But to be honest with you, tonight was not a good night. Thank you.
Greg Kazar, chairman of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, said, quote, "Accepting nothing but a pinky promise from Republicans isn't a compromise. It's capitulation." Frankly, I agree. I mean, he's spot on. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries said House Democrats would be unlikely to support a deal to allow the ACA extensions to expire, which really doesn't matter anyway, since the House has enough votes to pass it. But I really want to talk about Chuck Schumer, right? Because, like, technically he voted no, claimed to be against caving on it, but don't let this guy fool you, okay? Chuck Schumer's always been a quitter. He's a quitter. He's always been a quitter. And not only is he a quitter, he's a coward. Okay. So make no mistake, he assembled this flock of geriatrics on the verge of retirement, along with John Fetterman's brain damage ass, to fall on their swords for him. Also, he could save face for when AOC finally primaries him, which, like, let's be real, hopefully is 2028. That's when he's up for re-election. Rep Rokana actually called him out for this fecklessness too. Like, finally, so there's another Democrat calling for Schumer's replacement. And Rokana said, quote, "If you can't lead the fight to stop healthcare premiums from skyrocketing for Americans, what will you fight for?" Yeah, what will you fight for indeed, right? So you got the progressive wing furious. Leadership is opposed, at least on its face. And House Democratic Caucus says they won't support it. But it really doesn't matter, right? Because the 8 corporate-owned senators, right there, they gave Republicans everything they wanted, and now the CR is moving forward, right? So the point is, okay, Republicans see the expiration of these subsidies as an opportunity to further undermine the ACA, an opportunity to blame Democrats for premium increases, an opportunity to push their own alternative, whatever, concept of a plan. So what happens now? So the Senate will vote on the full continuing resolution, probably today. Maybe they already have. It's been a couple hours since I checked. If not today, it'll definitely be tomorrow or in the coming days. And it will likely pass with these 8 Democrats plus all Republicans. However, there is still a chance, and unless they've already voted on it in the last couple hours, that 2 of these assholes could back out. And we have an opportunity to call their offices, their DC offices, until they vote, and just pester them and plead with them to back out of this fecklessness. Okay, and the reason why I say we need two, right? Because technically speaking, you only need one. But the reason that I think we need two is Rand Paul is the lone Republican no vote on this. Okay, he could conceivably cave and flip to a yes. It's not out of the realm of possibility. So call these 8 pieces of shit and see if 2 of them have the courage to stand up to Republicans. Their DC office phone numbers are in the description below. Just remember, be nice and respectful. Okay, they're going to filter out anybody who's yelling at them or using profanity. But if you're nice and respectful, they'll at least listen to the message. They need to feel this pressure now because this is the last opportunity. Okay. And since growing a spine is the hardest thing for a Democrat to do, let's all assume that they all cave. The CR passes the Senate, it goes to the House, where it should pass easily because the Republicans control it, and Democrats are largely powerless to stop it. Trump will sign it, the government will reopen, federal workers will get paid, flights will resume, normal operations. Then by the second week of December, the Senate may or may not hold a vote on extending the ACA subsidies. And even if they do, they'll fail. That bill will die in the Senate. But even if by some miracle it passed, Mike Johnson won't bring it to a floor vote. And even by some double miracle, it does pass the House. I mean, Trump is just going to veto it. So that's what I mean by this is literally the last opportunity to save this because subsidies will expire, premiums will skyrocket, millions will lose coverage, and Republicans will blame Democrats for all of it, right? They'll say Democrats had months to negotiate a bipartisan solution. They'll say Democrats were too rigid, too demanding. They'll say this is what happens when Democrats play politics with people's health care. Right. And the mainstream media is going to do the same bullshit they always do and dutifully report both sides of the story as if there's any equivalence between Democrats wanting to protect healthcare subsidies and Republicans refusing to protect healthcare subsidies. OK, Republicans know with absolute certainty that they can wait out Democrats on anything. Right. They can shut down the government. They can threaten the debt ceiling. They can hold hostage any must pass legislation and even Supreme Court nominations, right? Eventually, Democrats will crack, Republicans get what they want. So why would Republicans ever compromise when they know this strategy works? They wouldn't, and they won't, right? We saw this with the debt ceiling fights under Obama. We saw it with the last government shutdown under Trump, and we will see it over and over and over again. Democrats take a stand, Republicans refuse to budge, media coverage intensifies about the consequences. A few Democrats start getting a little nervous. They start floating about compromise. Republicans smell the blood in the water. They hold firm, and Democrats cave. It's the same story, different crisis. So here's what the Democrats should have done. They should have held firm. No votes to reopen the government without extending the ACA subsidies, period. Yes, that means the shutdown would continue. Yes, that means more flights delayed. Yes, that means more federal workers going without pay and disruption. The pressure was building on Republicans, though. They were getting hammered in their districts. Swing state Republicans were nervous. Even some conservative Republicans were starting to crack. Had the Democrats held out for another week, maybe 2, Republicans would have caved. Maybe not completely, but at least not to the point where we're getting pinky promises, okay? We could have had an extension on the subsidies for 6 months or even another year, something that could be a major talking point for 2026. Instead, Democrats blinked first. Again. So here we are. After 40 days of shutdown, Democrats got nothing. Not an extension, not a guarantee, not even a commitment from the House to take it up. Just a promise of a vote. A vote that will fail. A vote that won't matter. 24 million Americans are about to see their healthcare premiums nearly double. 4 million people will lose coverage entirely, and the Democrats will be blamed for it despite the fact that they tried to prevent it and Republicans blocked it. This is the Democratic Party in 2025. Afraid to fight, quick to compromise, desperate to be seen as reasonable, and constantly surprised when Republicans take advantage of that. It's Lucy, Charlie Brown, and the football. Yet again. Well, thanks for tuning in today. We will be back next week for a full episode. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I'm producer Steve. This has been the Weekly Dump, and I need a fucking drink. Damn it.